ASMR. Today's video, guys, pretty straightforward one. I've got a couple games, a couple books to go through. Now they're all from the same series, so it's from Dead Space. This is Dead Space 1, and this is Dead Space 2 for the PlayStation 3. And then I also have two books, so Dead Space Murder and Dead Space Catalyst as well. So look, I'm just going to be talking about those. If you know about Dead Space, you might find this somewhat interesting. If you don't, you might also find interesting, or it could be incredibly boring. So you let me know. It could be good to fall asleep to anyway, or just have on in the background. But yeah, so that's what we're dealing with, guys. I'm going to get started by just showing you off the game cases, maybe talking a bit about the story. It's one of those games, though, that seems to have a pretty simple premise, but there's like a whole lot of like crazy world building and like kind of lore outside the games that, if you know about, I think really adds to the universe. Let's go no further without talking about Dead Space 1, though. So this is Dead Space 1 for the PlayStation 3. I think it came out in 2008. And yeah, this was a banger. The reason I went back and kind of played through, or I'm currently playing through the series, not for the first time, this is one of my favourite series as well. I love playing through these games. But if you saw my last video, I talked about how I have been making my way through the Alien and Predator movie franchise. So I think there's like 14 or 15 kind of movies in total. There's a couple of shows. Actually, the day I started watching like the Alien and Predator franchise, I started with Alien, obviously. But that day was the first day that the new TV show Alien Earth was released on Disney. I didn't even know that they were making an Alien TV show. So it was pretty good timing by me unintentionally. But I was in the mood for some kind of deep space horror, I suppose, after getting a taste from Aliens. And Dead Space was the fix for that. Now, funnily enough, if you've actually seen one of my other videos, I do an unboxing for a collector's edition for a different game called The Callisto Protocol. It's actually made by the same guy. When he finished up the Dead Space series, he left, made his own company, and then made Callisto Protocol, a guy called Glenn Schofield. Anyway, Dead Space, what's it all about? I'm going to go ahead and read the back here, just so we're kind of both on the same page, okay? So, the top says, "There's no help coming." So, a deep space mining ship goes dark after unearthing a strange artifact on a distant planet. Engineer Isaac Clarke embarks on the repair mission, only to uncover a nightmarish bloodbath. Now Isaac is cut off, trapped, and fighting for his life. Pretty interesting. Go ahead and open it up. Hope that's not too abrasive. I usually like the sounds of kind of a game being like held. I know that kind of sounds strange, but you know, like opening it here in the disc. Anyway, here is the inside that we are working with. So you see you've got the manual and the disc itself there. So this is something I really miss from modern gaming, is getting manuals, or even here, like behind the manual there's like an extra page. It's like The Genesis of Evil is the title, but yeah, like this was like a bonus code you could get to see like a prequel movie ahead of time. You don't get that anymore. Yeah, so there is the manual, and manual is 4-game manual back then, pretty standard. Just has the controls, a little bit of story information, and then some like weapons on like the information and other kind of skills that you'd be using throughout the game. I'm just trying to flick through it right now. I don't know if that sounds good. Yeah, so this is the game. Fantastic game, truly amazing. If you haven't played it, check it out. They remade it. They first one for PS5 and Xbox and PC. Maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I could be completely wrong there. But I was hyped when that came out, and it delivered nearly. I love the original, but I would probably play the remake over it any day of the week. I was just particularly itching to play some of the original, and I also wanted to get the Platinum Trophy for the original as well on my PlayStation account. So, yeah, that's Dead Space 1. It's a scary game for sure. You know, a bit more information, like the monument that they find on that planet. It's kind of like a monument that makes people go crazy. They kind of get psychotic, schizophrenic, and it makes people like really aggressive, and they'll start killing each other. And then, through one means or another, the kind of bodies are repurposed into these like terrible, monstrous aliens that are called necromorphs. And kind of once a body is like infected with, we'll say, the necromorph or the alien disease, it'll like kind of reanimate and pop bones out in different ways and like turn them into like sharp blades and stuff. So really makes a normal human body into like a monstrous alien, with no other purpose than to go out and kill other people so that they can become kind of monstrous aliens too. So yeah, it's a story about being the guy who's sent on the repair ship to the main ship that like all the shit's already gone down. So you arrive and you're like, what the hell is going on here? And it's kind of just following you, I suppose, making your way through the ship, learning more about what happened, kind of coming up with an idea of what you need to do to kind of maybe fix things. So I won't go any further into detail there, just in case you haven't played it and are interested, but highly recommend. Nice guys, okay. And then, of course, we have the sequel, Dead Space 2. The limited edition one here. And I'm going to go ahead and read the back here once again, just so we know what we're talking about, but here's a little look for you too. So, bring the terror back to space. After waking from a coma on a massive space city known as the Sprawl, Isaac Clarke must battle dementia, the government, and visions of his dead girlfriend as he dominates a gruesome new necromorph onslaught. Tear through space with full 360 movement. Wield devastating tools to dominate the alien outbreak and strategically dismember your friends in multiplayer. Man, that just reminded me, the multiplayer for this was so good, holy shit. I doubt you could probably get a server going now these days, but I remember playing this when this was like freshly out. That shit was so good. Anyway, Dead Space 2. Let's have a look on the inside. Once again, we have the disc and the manual here. Take out the manual. Oh, that's crazy. Look, I got an ad for Bulletstorm coming out February 25th, 2011. Now, makes me feel a little old. So, we've got Dead Space 2 manual, and pretty similar to the first one. It's just got pretty basic setup information, controls, online, a little bit of information on the weapons, yeah, some suits, but still, I love these. It's so disappointing. I think the most recent physical game I got was Silent Hill 2, and it's so disappointing, like opening up a game and there being no manual. Like, it looks naked without it. Anyway, that's neither near nor there. Dead Space 2. So, follows on, not immediately after the ending of Dead Space 1, because there is actually Well, there's a game that came out for the Wii and the PS3 as well. Dead Space Extraction, which was also another really good game for like an on-rail shooter as well. And yeah, there's that. And then there was like another. I think there's like a Flash game that you could play on the website. But they were both. Wait, sorry. No. Dead Space Extraction was a prequel to the first one, and then the like mini game web hacking game was the prequel to 2. But there was also one prequel movie and then a sequel movie to that prequel, maybe. I'm getting pretty confused here. But there's 2 movies and one game in between that kind of led up to Dead Space 2 as well. But they're like, you didn't need to watch them; they were just additional information. But this game definitely improvements in pretty much every way on the first game, like the weapons, the combat, the story. I think is way better. Well, yeah, I think the story is better. In the first game, Isaac, the main character, he doesn't talk. Now in the remake, he does speak, which I think completely changes the game for the better. But the first time you hear him talk is only in Dead Space 2. And he's a great character. Like, it's only going back and playing like the remake that you see how much he adds by actually speaking and like being a human being and having good reactions to things. Like he's just a regular guy too. Like, so when he sees crazy shit, he's not afraid to let you know he's uncomfortable. Like, so yeah, this story is about him kind of waking up after a few months, maybe a year, with like dementia in this kind of like medical facility on Mars that's part of like this huge city. And you wake up and you're literally, I want to say, within 10 seconds, thrown into the action. And it's kind of just about, I suppose, escaping from that station, kind of finding out what's happening. Why is what happened in the first game kind of happening again, and working to stop that. So that is the story without going into too much detail. Once again, if you know, you know, and if you don't, you need to get on it. But yeah, so that's Dead Space 2. Now, there is Dead Space 3. Which I think if you asked the majority of the Dead Space community, probably wouldn't be the most favourite. I enjoyed it. I actually don't have it for the PS3. I have it on Steam, but I need to get it for my PS3. But I enjoyed it when I played it. But I can definitely understand why it wouldn't be people's favourites, and it probably isn't my favourite either, truth be told. Some interesting new like, I enjoyed the whole story of like Tau Volantis and like learning that like there was another species that this exact same thing happened to. And obviously like the kind of snowy environment is a complete 180 from, you know, space. And like the weapon customization, you could like kind of combine weapons in a load of different ways. I thought it was pretty good. But I can definitely understand why like the story kind of does fall a little flat in certain places, and there's kind of like there's a really good ending, but there's kind of like not a very satisfying ending. You're definitely left wanting more, and unfortunately we never got more. So that is Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna go ahead and show you these books here now as well. So we've got Dead Space Murder and Dead Space Catalyst. Now, I only picked these up a week ago. These actually used to be somewhat rare, but obviously there was a big reprint and they've become widely available. Because remember, I had my eye on Murder in particular a couple of years ago, and it was like €150 for like a €10 copy. And I was like, Jesus Christ. But these are brand new. So yeah, both of these books, we'll go through them one by one. Let's start with Murder. Alright, so Dead Dead Space Martyr. Gonna go ahead and read the back as I usually do. So it says, "We have seen the future, a universe cursed with life after death. It all started deep beneath the Yucatan Peninsula, where an archaeological discovery took us into a new age, bringing us face to face with our origins and destiny. Michael Altman had a theory that no one would hear. It cursed our world for centuries to come. This, at last, is his story." So, this follows, as I just said there, Michael Altman, who I'm kind of speaking as if you know the Dead Space lore here now, so you'll forgive me if I sound like I'm talking gobbledygook. But Michael Altman is the founder of Unitology, which is the religion in Dead Space that worships the marker and worships the necromorphs, even though they don't know it. Not in the first one, anyway. But the original marker, so the black marker, which isn't the red marker that they find in the first game, the black marker is like the OG. The aliens actually sent that one, and that landed in the Yucatan Peninsula, and it was found by Michael Altman. And throughout the game, Michael Altman is revered as like the founder of Unitology. He's like almost talked in like a saintly way. Altman be praised would be like a common saying of members of the church. But I do know, just from my own knowledge, I haven't read the book yet, but I'm pretty sure this is about Michael Altman finding out about the black marker, kind of realizing its very harmful potential, and trying to like work against that. I think ultimately he kind of is framed into becoming a martyr for the church. I probably just spoiled the entire book for you and me, but now we know. But that's what that is about. And the other book. So this is like I think this is probably the earliest story in the Dead Space universe. And this one follows up after that one, still before the events of the first game. So this is Dead Space Catalyst, and I'm going to go ahead and read the back. So, 250 years into the future, extinction threatens mankind. Tampering with dangerous technology from the Black Marker, an ancient alien artifact discovered on Earth 80 years ago. Okay, so we're 80 years after the events of the first game. Earthgov hopes to save humanity, but the Marker's influence reanimates corpses into grotesque, rampaging nightmares. Steeped in desperation, deceit, and hubris, the history of the Markers reveals our ominous future. Brothers Istvan and Jensi grew up under the porous dome on Vinduga. Jensi has always looked after Istvan, who sometimes lashes out in sudden episodes of violent paranoia. When Istvan is sent off-world to a high-security prison, Jensi is determined to follow and find a way to keep his brother safe. But the prison guards a horrible secret, one that will push both brothers to the cusp of something much greater and darker than they ever imagined. Interesting. I don't know anything about this one. Well, I know it's about those two brothers now, but I don't know how it's going to connect to any other story in the universe. I'm excited nonetheless. I'm in a tough position now though, because once again, if you watched my last video, you'll know I'm going away on holidays, and it's always a critical decision deciding what books you want to bring. But now I've got 5 books. So I've got 5 books for a 10-day holiday. I don't know, I don't know if I can justify bringing 5 big chunky physical books in my suitcase with me. I've only got to carry on. But yeah, so I need to decide which ones to bring, or if I should just read those in the meantime, and like when I come back home and bring my original holiday books with me. But yeah, so look, I think I'll leave it here, guys. I just wanted to make a quick video. Please, if you made it to the end of the video, let me know. Comment the alien emoji or something. And yeah, I hope you're relaxed. I hope whatever is troubling you right now, gets sorted and is only a distant memory for you in the future. And yeah, I'll be speaking to you again soon, guys. So sleep well.